Hello, everyone. Hope you guys are keeping safe and doing well at home. I'm Tanay Mandowara, co founder of COVID, and I talk about holistic nutrition and lifestyle medicine, which basically means that if we live our lifestyle, if we live a life in the right way, in tune with nature, then our lifestyle is basically the medicine, So we don't really need to take up any kind of medication in terms of pills or medication. So, today we are going through a pandemic and a lot of people are suffering. I'm sure a lot of people will end up as mental health patients after this pandemic, and in fact, during this pandemic. So I thought about calling an old friend to this podcast. Um, she is a professional psychologist, and she's been working in the field for a few years now. So let me welcome Neti Ranjan. Neti Ranjan has graduated from Delhi University. She completed her psychology honors from there. And after that, she went on to study counseling psychology from the Tata Institute of Social Sciences in Mumbai. After that, she went on to work as a tele-counselor with iCall. And currently, she's working as a program manager in an NGO based in Mumbai that deals with child sexual harassment, and she is also working as a freelance counselor. So if any one of you have any mental health problems, then you can definitely reach out to her. I will be attaching her details in the description section below. So over to you, Neti. So what do we really understand by mental health?
Hi, Tanay. Thank you for having me. And so, let's start with what is mental health. And I think that's like a very wide definition that covers a lot of things. So it's like the underlying thing that dictates everything that we do, right? Mental health would be the would be related to our social life, would be related to our emotional life, would be related to our physical life. So it truly encompasses who we are, and whether what's happening in our life right now, or who we are right now, if that's something that we are okay with. So that way we can say, okay, right now I feel mentally healthy. And if there are something that is giving us some sort of distress or is making us feel not that great, then that would come under, okay, maybe my mental health is not up to the mark that probably I would want it to be at. So it's ever present and it's everywhere.
All right. So one of the major reasons I decided to do this podcast with you again, and I have done podcasts with you earlier also on a different channel that I used to run back, back in the years. But one of the biggest reasons I wanted to do this podcast with you was because today a lot of people are going through, the mental health challenges. A lot of people are losing their loved ones. A lot of people have lost entire families. So I have like a couple of questions, related to these people. Because they are feeling hopeless. So how do you deal with hopelessness, when you've lost a loved one of yours, or, when you've lost the entire family? So, and I'm sure that, the mental health, the impact that people have on their mental health, after facing such a situation is large. It's huge.
Right.
So how should someone deal with hopelessness when it comes to these kind of situations?
Right. Before getting into the specifics of any one aspect, or one thing that I do want to say, which is applicable, I think, for the whole of today's conversation, is that these are also still general guidelines, right? Every person will have like a specific context to their life. And yes, this might be helpful in some ways, but if anyone feels that, okay, whatever I'm trying right now is not feeling enough, and my distress is maybe more than that, then it's completely okay to actually go for a professional help who can work with you one on one and specifically to what is your context. So that's something that I want everyone to sort of remember through the whole conversation. There might be things that resonate with some, there might be things that don't feel um, like something that they can do in their particular life. and that's completely okay, because it's difficult to have one thing that fits everyone, right? Everyone has a lot of diversity happening in their life. So just wanted to like sort of say that as a disclaimer right at the beginning. And as far as the pandemic is concerned, I think another thing that is very important to remember is that this is something that impacts everyone, and it's like on a global scale. Yes, the amount that it affects people might differ. Some people might be in a lot more difficulties than others. Some people do have some amount of privilege that helps them cushion their problems. But everyone gets impacted in some way or the other. um, a lot of people have lost their loved ones in this era, and I think that that grief or that frustration that everyone is facing is very, very natural, and it's everywhere. So I think like there is that one universal experience that we can say ties everyone up. It's not specific to one particular population, it's not specific to one particular area. This is grief, or this is sadness, or this is frustration or helplessness on a very large level. So that's something to think of, even if you are going to say a healthcare professional, or if you are going to other people and you're reaching out, they can understand, because everyone is one way or the other feeling similar things. So maybe that sort of a, I don't know, solidarity can be sometimes comforting. Second thing is that grief is a very powerful and a very consuming emotion, and this particular context has been such that there has been a lot of feelings of helplessness. Like there have been factors outside our control which have led to a lot of devastation. So it's not just grief that people are dealing with, but it's also a lot of helplessness, that I knew things are going bad but I couldn't do anything, or that there are also structural problems that have happened, that the healthcare infrastructure wasn't really designed or wasn't prepared or equipped to deal with things at such a large level. So it's not just the individual's responsibility that led to a lot of things that happened. It's also on a larger structural scale. So the the thing is that all the emotions that someone is feeling is valid. Their grief is valid, their anger is valid, their helplessness is valid. All of those are emotions that will come up. And I think it's important for people to remember that. We are not saying that um don't feel this way, or it's okay, like let's look at positive side. It's difficult to look at positive side when things are going really badly. And I think to create that space for a person to be able to say all of this and to be able to feel all of this is also important. And to give that support is also important.
Right. Okay, so I have a question from Venkatesh. Um, and so the question is how to counter overthinking. And I'm guessing that, this question is in the context of, the current situation that we are in, which
Right.
is of the pandemic, because um, all over in media and social media, you read the newspapers, you watch the TV, or you
Yeah.
use your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. We see news of, people dying everywhere,
Right.
people getting devastated, like the whole families. So
Right.
that just kind of, puts a person into a circle of thoughts which are just like never ending.
Right.
So
Right.
that circle, how to get out of that circle, how to overcome the problem of overthinking.
Right. I think one is the, like you said, the constant exposure, right? Wherever you go, whoever you talk to, if you look at news, if you use social media, everywhere there's the same thing that is happening. So it's not just overthinking that's happening in a vacuum, it's also overthinking which is being sort of it's almost like it's encouraged in a way, because everywhere you see the same thing over and over. So I think it's okay if we want to disengage from it for a little bit, right? Because a lot of times what also happens is that there is this struggle that if I disengage, then what am I sort of shying away from my responsibility in what needs to happen as a community. But if we ourselves are not in a good mental space, it's very difficult to help others as well. So to have that divide at some time, to get away from that exposure, it's okay to not look at Instagram, or not look at the constant queries that people are doing for some time, because if you are not recharged, it's very difficult to actually go out and help anyway. And um, also, sometimes it's also good a practice to sort of focus on the immediate. Right, yes, there is a lot of things that is happening on a grand scale which makes us feel very frustrated because we can't do anything about it. But on a local or on an immediate level, there can be very tangible things that I can do, right? Which could be something as simple as reaching out to people that I know are living alone, or sending food to people who might not be able to cook right now or who are in isolation, or just coordinating venues, like, okay, where can you get medicines from, where you can get home deliveries from, who is arranging what, and just for one person or two people that is right there in your immediate surroundings, which also gives you a lot of not a lot, but it also gives you control over something that otherwise feels very big and very um, threatening. So these are some things that can be done. And secondly, about overthinking, I feel like because a lot of people are also in isolation, they're quarantining. So it, like, you have nothing to do. Like, there isn't any external outside force that's around, which can lead to a lot of free time, and that is like a best friend for overthinking. So I think that way also, like it's difficult to constantly keep yourself engaged, but I feel like being aware that yes, this time overthinking is a possibility. There will be times when my thoughts will spiral, but to be aware of that and to be like, okay, you know what, I did spiral for the last half an hour, for the last 1 hour. Let's see if I can do something which will sort of help me get out of that loop, or which will be a little more um in the opposite direction, whether that can be reaching out to friends over social media, or text or call, or watching something, doing something that they really like.
Yeah, I think it's very important, because overthinking can be in two directions. It can be in a negative direction, and it can be in a positive direction. So I think, but in such times, it usually goes towards the negative side. And I completely agree with you, when you say that it's okay, if you're not able to help out somebody,
Right.
because not everyone is in a position to do that. I mean,
Right.
I personally know a friend who is doing everything that she can in all her capacity. So she literally took out time from her work, and she made calls to just verify the different, all the
Right.
information that comes to her through
Yeah.
WhatsApp. She's just making calls and verifying all those things, and then forwarding it to different people
Right.
who are in need of
Right.
it. So I think that's a great way to
Yeah.
not be overwhelmed about, with all the
Right.
information that is flying around.
Yeah.
So I think that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question from Dharmesh, which is
Mhm.
how to deal with anxiety resulting due to uncertainty with this pandemic.
Yeah. Um, I think first thing is that, like I said, we are all in the same boat. It's just on different decks, I would say, because yeah, there is a lot of uncertainty. People have had to relocate, people have lost their jobs. There is a lot of uncertainty about the future. Where will I go? Where will my family be? What will I be doing? So I think the first thing is that it's very valid and it's very natural for people to have that anxiety, right? A lot of times, what happens is we are very scared to sort of lean into it, because then it feels like, okay, maybe that will get out of my hand. But I think the first step is to be acknowledge that yes, it is a very difficult time. None of us are equipped to deal with this, right? This is something that is happening to most of us for the first time.
Right.
So to expect a little less from us, like I can't be expected to have everything together all the time in such a way, or expect myself to have all the answers, or expect myself to be at ease with everything, help everyone out, also do my job, also take care of my family, also have a nice mental health, just everything, like the things that I would probably expect from me, say, in a normal circumstance. So I think first thing is to sort of lower those expectations. It's okay if there are some days where I'm not doing anything because I have no idea what to do.
Right.
And so just lowering those expectations in the first place. And then secondly, thinking of what that anxiety is about, right? That uncertainty, what's the purpose of that anxiety? Like, okay, if I'm uncertain about my future, or if I'm uncertain about what will happen to my family, or if I am I uncertain about what will I do after the pandemic ends, right? So there are the different aspects to that anxiety. And what basically our body is trying to do is it's trying to prepare itself to its best capacity, because these are, like I said, these are new times. No one knows, there's no particular script to do. So in a way, it's like that anxiety is trying to get us prepared that, okay, there's a lot of uncertainty. What am I going to do in that? I need to have a plan. And if I don't have a plan, then I start freaking out. So just to sort of realize that that anxiety and you are also on the same team in a way.
Right.
It's not there to like um annoy you. It's also trying to prepare you for what's happening around you. It's like a response to your environment. It's not something out of the blue. So a lot of times just having that sort of an outlook towards this and trying to embrace it, ki, okay, I understand what you're trying to do, but this is not helping me. Can we look at some other way to do the same thing? Just having that sort of conversation with yourself, with your body, sometimes also can be really helpful. And in those times, a lot of times when there is a lot of anxiety, it becomes difficult to stay in the present. So I think a lot of times what people can also do is do something that really grounds them. So a lot of times when we are dealing with severe anxiety, it can be difficult to stay in the present and to think of anything, positive, or even anything remotely normal. So I think doing things that grounds you to the present, whether it is talking to someone who knows you really well and who knows what things helps you calm down a little bit, doing something that helps you stay in the present. For example, if you have some hobby that helps you focus on the task at hand, right? Like a lot of people really got into baking the last time because it helps you, because you have to be concentrated on the activity, otherwise you can't bake. And what that really helps you do is that it helps you stay connected to what I need to do right now, which is, okay, I need to put this much flour in it, I need to put this much water in it. So it's just something
Yes.
that
It
grounds
just
you
kind
in
of
that
takes
particular
your
moment.
mind off from other
Yeah,
things which are going on,
yeah,
around
yeah,
you.
yeah.
So I
And
think, yeah,
when
I think developing hobbies are a great way to, kind of just get away from the world right now. And
yeah,
I think a lot of people have started working out, and they've lost a lot of weight, they've gained like health. I've seen a lot of success stories who have of people who have
right,
done like miraculous work. I personally
right,
have friends who've lost like 20-25 kgs in the last lockdown
right,
just by
yeah,
doing this. So there are like positive sides to
yeah,
it as well, that people
right,
have
absolutely.
achieved. Yes.
Yeah.
So
And
but
in that sense, I would say that um, not focusing on the really miraculous journeys would also be helpful, because not everybody would be able to, say, lose 25 kgs or actually get to the goal that they wanted to get to. Because again, this process is also not going to be linear. Some days you will feel great and you'll do everything that you set out to do. And then there will be other days where you don't do everything that you wanted to do. But it's okay, I did one thing, or I didn't do anything. So
right.
that's fine. Anything that basically the idea is that just being a little easy on ourselves. This is a very impossible situation to be. Yeah.
A lot of people, a lot of my friends in fact have shared this with me, that they always feel that they need to run around, they need to hustle hard, even in
Yeah.
these times. And I think that's so wrong, because these times are so unnatural. If you look at it, from a if you stand
Exactly.
apart, and if
Yeah.
you stand at a distance, then you will understand that how different these times are. Although now a lot of things have been not normalized about the corona times, but these are very unnatural times, and it's fine to be just, I think, okay about
Yeah.
not being okay.
Right. And just existing slash surviving in these times is hustling, in my opinion. So yeah, everyone is hustling really hard. So you don't have to do extra things on top of it. That's just if you want to do great, but you don't have to. You are still hustling.
Right. So do you think people will be able to come out of the COVID, the anxiety that they have developed? A lot of people, I mean, we've all, I think we all know that, a lot of people haven't come out of their homes in like months. Uh,
Right.
in the last lockdown, I personally know a couple who did not come out of their apartment for like
Right.
good 6 to 7 months.
Hmm.
And it was all because of, the fear, because
Right.
it's not like, you come out of the house and you catch corona. No, it's not like that. If you take proper precautions, if you wear a mask, if you do the social distancing right, then you can minimize the chances. But
Right.
a lot of people have this anxiety that we don't want to get out of the house, and we don't want to go for the social gatherings. So do you think, like,
Right.
there is a way to come out of it? There is a way to treat this? Is this psychology? I mean, this is definitely psychological, so how do you
Right.
like go about it?
Um, I think, like you said, that there are precautions that you can take which might minimize the chance of you getting it, right? But there is no definitive way to make it zero. There
Right.
is always going to be some or the other chance that you might catch COVID. And um, how whether you want to take that chance is not is also going to be a lot of depending on a lot of context, right? There are people who are immunocompromised, or there are people who don't have the support system that if I actually get COVID, who's going to take care of me, who's going to take care of the other things, right? So I think that sort of everyone looked at the situation and sort of had an idea that okay, I can afford this much social interaction, or I can afford to go out this much, I can't afford to go out this much, right? And that would be dependent on what my employment is, whether I have to go out because of that or not, who are the people in my family, do we need to go out to get supplies, or like just to sustain ourselves, and number of things. So I think it's okay that everyone sort of gets to make that call. At the same time, it's also we are trying sort of dealing it on a community level. So I might, for example, I might be able to afford going out, and actually, even if I say do catch COVID, I'll be fine. I might have like some symptoms, but I don't think it will be life threatening. But that does not mean that I put myself at risk, because I might unknowingly be putting other people at risk who might not have the same protective factors that I do,
Right.
who might not be able to deal with it so easily. So we also have to look at the community wala responsibility that we have, not just our individual
We need to think of
responsibility.
in a more
Yeah,
collective
yeah,
manner.
yeah, absolutely. And similarly, how like some people can afford to be a little more casual about it than other people, right? Similarly, that anxiety will also have different impact on different people.
Right.
If I don't, for example, if I live with another person who has a good immune system and it's just the two of us, we have the money, we can get everything delivered to our house, it will be a lot more easier for us to deal with this situation. So our anxieties might be lower, as
Right.
opposed to someone who has, say, difficulties in employment, difficulties in getting stuff at home. There might be people who are way more uh, threatened by COVID. So there will be differences in those anxieties. And I think just being really empathetic and understanding of different contexts of people, I think is something that every one of us needs to, irrespective of who we are and where we come from.
Right.
And also, you said about getting out of it, right? I
Yes.
think I actually don't know, because we are still very much in the middle of another wave that has been really way more brutal than the one that we experienced last year.
Yes.
So, getting out right now seems to be like a very utopian version. And I can give any answer, but I don't think it will do justice to actually what will happen whenever we get out of it.
No, that's a very honest. That's a very honest
Yeah,
answer.
yeah,
I think personally, I feel that one of the ways to come out of such an anxiety is to distance yourself from reading the newspaper,
right,
reading or watching the news or looking at your
mm,
Instagram, because everywhere is just about COVID. Everywhere,
right,
like the when I
right,
look at the newspaper in the morning, the front page just talks about
right,
COVID in like such huge fonts. So it's very
right,
depressing, because if you're looking at that the first thing in the morning, then
right,
you are tuning your mood in a very
right,
negative way, and that too at
right,
the beginning of the day, and then
right.
that's basically going to set the mood for the rest of the day. So I think one of the best ways to avoid is to avoid reading the newspapers or watching the news, and maybe you can just enjoy watching some Netflix or something that you like, basically.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And if morning does not suit us, we can look at the newspaper in evening also. That's fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, like I
Okay, so
said, something
yeah.
that just reiterating what I was saying, that something that focusing on something that's more immediate rather than looking at the global scene, because that's not really going to help.
Hmm.
Secondly, doing something that grounds you to the present, reaching out to people who are sources of support for you. And if you feel that the immediate loved ones or the friends are not someone that you want to sort of reach out for support, there is always mental health professionals available for that. Reaching out to them is, it can also be done. So those are some ways that we can sort of use to deal with our immediate anxiety. Anxiety as a collective, as a society, of what it will be when we get out of it is something that I am not sure of.
Would you like to bust some common myths about around mental health experts, or approaching a mental health expert? Because a lot of people do
Um,
not reach out to them, thinking of various ideas that
right,
they have heard about from different
right,
members in the family or in the society.
right. I think I can think of, like, the stigma that is around therapy or mental health, that it's say a sign of weakness, or it's a sign of that I can't deal with stuff, or that there's something wrong with me. Those are the some of the key messages that sort of prevent people from reaching out. And I think um it's a myth in the sense that, well, mental health is, like I said, anywhere and everywhere, and it sort of like encompasses a lot of things for us. And if there is some issue that we feel is getting a little bit bigger, we don't hesitate to sort of work on it. And what mental health professional is just doing is giving you that support and that sort of extra sort of helping hand to help you deal with that. It's not a sign of weakness. And also, even if you think it is a weakness, I mean, everyone does have that. I don't think there is anyone who can be like, okay, we are 100% strong, because I'm not even sure what that concept would even look like. So yeah, that's pretty that's one thing. I think
Very well
second
explained. Yeah.
bit And I think second bit would be the access, because a lot of time people want, they're like, okay, there's something wrong and I want to sort of address it, but I'm not really sure how to go about it. So that access can be a problem. Where do I go with it? Who do I contact?
Right.
So that can be another um, bit that sort of prevents people from reaching out or contacting a mental health professional. In that sense, if there are people who have access to internet, I think they would um, have like a added advantage, because now there are a lot of resources available which sort of helps people understand what therapy can look like, who are the people that they can reach out to. There are a lot of NGOs, there are a lot of people who have collated lists of mental health professionals that you can reach out to, based on city, based on income, based on languages. So there is a lot of resource available. It's just that we'll have to make a little bit of initiative to sort of see what is out there that might work for me. And most of the professionals that I know would be very happy to answer any questions that you might have. And you don't even, it's not about that if you want therapy from them only, then they'll answer questions,
Right.
right? But they understand that, okay, some people might not know how this works, and you might have very legit questions. There are no stupid questions. You can ask them anything, and I think they'll be pretty happy to help out. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, so what are the symptoms of depression? Because uh, s- depression is something that is I think it's a clinical disease, right? It's a clinical problem. It's something that is very serious. But people use the word depression like, they use any other word. So are people really depressed when they say that, I have depression? Because what I have understood from a lot of people who have gone through this is that, uh, they had like major symptoms, like, they could not,
Right.
they didn't want to get up from their bed, they didn't want to
Right.
face anything, they didn't want to do anything about, about their day. So
Right.
what are the real symptoms of depression, when we talk about like depression as a clinical issue? And
Right.
when should a person really like seek help from a mental health expert? Because a person today, even today, like, even after so much of talk around mental health, people are still unable to figure out what depression is really,
Right.
so can you please like elaborate on that?
So my question here, like my approach would be a little bit different. Instead of thinking whether this person has, say, quote unquote, real depression or not, let's look at why people would call themselves depressed.
Right.
With the amount of stigma that there is, with the amount of negative connotations that are already present with mental health, if someone is saying that I am depressed, some you might think that they are not showing the, again, quote unquote, obvious symptoms, but no one is going to take the term lightly. What it means is that I am in enough distress that I am looking to have some like some word that will resonate with my experience. Or what I'm actually saying is, okay, things are not going well and I need support, or I need to reach out.
Right.
So even if one might believe that, okay, this does not look like what depression looked like or what I read about, that's okay. The important bit is that this person is in distress and they need help, or they want to reach out to people.
Right. Okay, that's very well explained, thank you. So I have another question, which is a little. I have like a couple of other questions actually, which are not entirely related to
Right.
the mental health side of it. When
Right.
it comes to Corona situation,
Right.
but one of the questions from a person who follows the account on Twitter is
Right.
that, is there any relation between psychology and migraine? And if
Mhm.
there is, then how can the migraine be reduced using the with the help of psychological
Right.
tricks or
So
psychological tools, basically?
yeah, yeah. So stress, I think, is a very big trigger for migraine. And just anyway, stress is one of those things which has a very significant impact on our physical and mental health. It exacerbates a lot of things, which might feel at times mild inconveniences, to something that becomes like a thing that is now difficult to manage. So that way, yes, it does have an impact. And the second thing is that if you have migraine, and then the problems that happen in your physical health and the inability to do a lot of times some activities that you otherwise would want to do, that can have other sort of psychological impact on how you see yourself or what you want to do, and that might lead to a lot of limitations for you. So that way, it has like a sort of a cyclical effect in a way, of how migraine and mental health sort of go together. And as far as how, like the tricks involved in this, I think with every person, the context will be different. What sort of, like, whether they have stress induced migraines, whether they have other types of migraine. And I think the important part is to understand what triggers that, like, what are the triggers that lead to, say, a migraine? What
Right.
are some of the limitations that happen because you might have a migraine? And what are some of the ways that have been helpful in the past to sort of combat with those effects?
So
And
it's
if there are
important to get to
aspects,
the root cause of it.
right, right. If not the cause, because sometimes it is difficult to know what causes migraine, but also to understand what leads to me having, say, I develop migraine. For example, if there are people who have like a, say, lack of sleep, bad nutrition, or like a lot more stress, might, I know that all of this together leads to me having a migraine episode. So if I know that these are the things that contribute to it, then I am doing things to sort of manage those three things, so
Right.
that I don't get to a place where it becomes unbearable for me.
Right.
So understanding what leads to me having an episode and
Right.
preventing that from happening.
Right.
And if I do get to a place where I do have the symptoms or I do get a migraine, then also just thoda being easy on ourselves, that I tried the best that I could, I still got it, so might as well spend some time just recovering and just giving myself a break. Right? We can't be expected to be perfectly healthy, perfectly okay all the time.
Right. Okay. Now, coming back to another very interesting question. This is probably the most interesting question that I've received from Twitter. And the
Right.
question is that how to improve the brain chemistry that has been degraded due to overstimulation. For example, like, by watching too much of Netflix, or, because
Right.
people binge watch for like days,
Right.
or
Right.
by playing too much of video games,
Right.
or by watching a lot of pornography. So a
Right.
lot of things have kind of just um,
Right.
displaced a lot of things in our head. So
Right.
how do you think people can deal with that?
Um, so I think this has, I mean, it's very difficult to give a short answer to this, uh, because it is like it has a lot of things involved. Like the first factor is that we need to understand that how the current situation is. It's designed to make us go in that overstimulated state. Like if you look at the TV shows that come up, like the way it's designed, like how Netflix is designed, you will go after like one episode after other. There are cliffhangers happening in every episode. Or if you look at Instagram and the algorithm that they use, that they will show you things that are interesting to you. So we
Right.
have to realize that the way our world is today, it's designed to like basically hook us, right? And if we don't know any better, it is very easy to slip into that overstimulation, as they said it is, right? So I think first bit is that there are factors bigger than just us who are contributing to this culture. Because I feel like a lot of times we assign too much individual responsibility and forget to see what the bigger structures are that also contribute to us leading to this level. So that's one thing that I would sort of want everyone to take notice of.
Yes, absolutely.
Second thing would be that especially in this time, right? There are so many things which makes us so stressed out, which makes us, like as we talked about, helpless or hopeless and just really badly in general, that we would take anything that gives us even a modicum of normalcy or pleasure. So the way things are right now globally, it is again very easy to get into a state of I have binge watched this whole series in 3 days, which I probably would otherwise take, say, 3 weeks. So to sort of realize that again, there are a lot of things that are contributing to why I'm doing this the way I'm doing it.
Right.
And then the third thing is that what are the alternatives to it? For example, if I say that, okay, fine, I'm not going to watch Netflix for 4 hours straight, what are my alternatives? I have to do tasks. I have to take care of my house. I have to do things related to office, and I have to take care of, I don't know, my finances, stuff like that. Things which are not something that gives us immediate gratification. Those are more
Right.
responsibilities rather than things that we do for pleasure. So it's very difficult to pull ourselves away from that pleasure, that thing that is giving us pleasure, or that's giving us, like, some amount of, I don't know, nice feeling. And it's an active effort to get away from it. So having that mentality that even if I'm not able to completely go away in one go, that's okay. It is going to take some time. I am consciously making a decision to say stop my episode and do some bit that I need to do for my responsibilities and tasks that I don't otherwise like. And yes, it's not as great. And then say next time coming back to it. And it might not happen in one go, which is fine. Just understanding why it's happening, being a little easier on ourselves, that it's not easy to get away from this overstimulation, and celebrating the fact even if it happens say once or twice or it doesn't happen to the extent that we wanted it to happen. So yeah, those are some things that I would want everyone to say.
Okay, so this is basically the end of questions. Last question from my side.
Right.
What are the lifestyle changes that you would like to suggest to people, to deal better in these times, so that they can live easy, they can feel easy,
Right.
they can have like better relationships, less stressed out relationships, with their
Right.
near and dear ones. So, what are the lifestyle changes that you suggest to people?
I think mindfulness is something that I have seen is very helpful. And when I say mindfulness, what we are trying to say is that the ability to be to focus more on the present and to take a stock of how am I feeling, who I am, what's going on in my body and my mind. And when we are taking a stock of that, to do that in a very non-judgmental way. For example, if I am very angry about something right now, so what mindfulness says is that just observe the anger. You don't have to feel anything about it. You don't have to chastise yourself or be difficult to yourself that, oh, why are you feeling angry? No, the idea is to just see, okay, why, okay, I'm feeling angry. To sort of have a very non-judgmental approach to yourself, that you are only human and you will have these different emotions that you have. And what does that emotion say about me? What is it trying to tell me? So just being a more open and supportive friend to ourselves and to people around us would be, yeah, a lifestyle change, if you can call it that. Yeah, for people.
All right. Thank you so much for such a wonderful conversation. It was great having
Thank you
you
so
back
much.
again.
Yeah, same here. I really liked being back.
Yeah.
And if there are any sort of questions or people want to reach out for anything else, I'll be happy to help.
Yes,
So yeah,
and I will be sharing your details in,
right,
as in like how to reach out to you at a personal level
yeah,
for, anyone who's facing any mental health
right,
issues. So you
yeah.
will be able to reach her. I will be linking all the details related to Neti down in the description box. All right. So thank you so much, and have a
Thank you
great
so
day,
much for
guys.
having